imagination. Stars, right? Because when you look at the night sky, that's like the closest real-life representation in the real world to what your imagination is like. Now, what is your imagination? Well, say I say the word armadillo. Well, I can think of this armadillo in my head. And it's not something I'm seeing in real life here. Like, I'm seeing all these trees and I have images of the trees in my head. But that's not imagination. The imagination is I'm seeing something that's not here. In my head, I can see an armadillo. And being able to come up with imaginary representations of objects is really good for a lot of different things in real life, like communication. I can say to you, armadillo, and you know what I'm talking about. And maybe you've never seen an armadillo before, but you've seen a picture or had a description or something, and you can conjure up an imaginary armadillo in your head. Or even if you have no idea what an armadillo is, I could describe it to you. It's kind of like a rat with an accordion on its back that's like gray and armory, a bit like a rhinoceros. You know, we can take real life information, put it together and rearrange it in our imagination and get ideas and be able to communicate them. And then I can use it not just to communicate, I can use my imagination to plan things. For instance, if this armadillo friend was coming to visit, I could say, oh, right, I should have things set up for an armadillo. So in my imagination, I can see an armadillo is going to be about this size, and I can make him a little armadillo bed that I can imagine in my head. And this isn't all new information. This is just, you know, pieces of information I already have that I can rearrange and put together. And this is one of the easiest uses of your imagination, is just rearranging existing information. Now, what if I say that armadillo is rainbow colored? Now, I've never seen a rainbow colored armadillo. Have you? Probably not. Now, what if I say that armadillo is rainbow colored and has ultraviolet feet? I mean, that's kind of new information there. I've never seen an armadillo, anything like that. But I can imagine it in my head. And that's still, you know, sort of using information that already exists out there and putting it together. But say I were to take away that armadillo and instead say, I'm describing a spacefaring hoppenflopper. Well, what's a hoppenflopper? I don't know what a hoppenflopper is, but I'm getting an idea. Where's that idea coming from? I can see the spacefaring hoppenflopper. He's out in outer space, and he looks like this thing. I don't know. I wouldn't even want to describe it. Do you have an idea of what he looks like? That's your imagination working right there. Even if you don't have a complete view, even if you just know what his toes look like or something, that's all imaginary stuff you're pulling out of non-existence. Now, in school, they like to teach you, at least in most schools, they like to teach you concrete things, like 6 divided by 2 equals, well, let's figure it out. We've got 6 here, right? And we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so let's take off some 2-size chunks. All right, we'll take off this 2-size chunk and shove it over here. Okay, there's 1. Now we're left with 4. Let's take another 2-size chunk, put it over there. All right, that's 2. Let's take another 2-size chunk and put it over 3. Oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, right. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3. Okay, that's very concrete and easy to understand. But then in school, when you get to the part where it's like, well, let's take 1 and divide it by 0. They say, whoa, 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 back up. We can't go there. We got to change stuff around so we get like, no, let's go ahead with that. You got your 1, and you're going to divide it by 0. So let's start taking 0-size chunks off there. Little tiny slivers that have no thickness at all. Put one over there. Put another one. Put another one. Oh, let's go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now we've got 100 of them over here, and we still haven't even made a scratch on our 1. All right, so let's keep going. 10,000. Oh, we still got a 1 here. Billions and billions. We still got our 1 here. Pulling zeros off like crazy. Oh, now we've got infinity over here, and we've still got our 1. And then you get to this point where it's like, how do you define infinity? It's like this thing that's not concrete and easy to understand, so they just take it out of school. They don't worry about that. That's philosophy, you know. It has nothing to do with math. No, it does. Just you have to use your imagination to find how this applies to things. Now, this whole idea that we're taught all the time about things are finite, nothing is infinite. All the ideas have already been thought of, and there's no new ideas. You can just recombine old ones. There's nothing new. Now, I hear people saying this, and I just feel bad for them, because that loose part, that flux part of their mind is like completely turned off. There are new ideas. See, I've got two things to say about this. First of all, there are an infinite number of new ideas. You can think of 1 billion ideas, and you'll be pulling zeros off that one, and you won't even have made a dent in the total number of ideas in the universe, because you'll never run out of them. What was the other point? Hold on. Okay, the other thing is, who cares if someone's already thought of your idea? You know what? Chances are that every idea you've ever thought of, someone in the history of the infinitely large universe has already thought of it. Who cares? And you'll get people on Earth trying to tell you, well, I've come up with that idea first, or you just got that idea from somewhere else. These people are trying to steal your imagination. They're not important. The only time that you have to figure out who came up with the idea first is when you're trying to make money off it. And that's just such a small part of the universe. That's not important for most things. You know, right now, there could be some aliens looking at me right now saying, oh, a video about imagination, yeah. I said all that stuff like 8 trillion years ago. I've got 16 hoppin' floppers back at home. The point is, being afraid that someone else has already thought of an idea and someone's just going to say, oh, that's not your idea, that's just a waste of time. No one can steal your use of your own imagination. If you come up with your own ideas, it's cool and it's fun and it makes you feel good. So who cares what those silly people think? They're probably just wasting their time, not using their imagination. So, I mean, the point of this all is that your imagination is infinite, and you can imagine infinity. I hear people telling others all the time that, oh, infinity, yeah, humans can't generally imagine that. Only a few select people. That's total poop. Anyone can imagine infinity. You do it all the time. It's just not in the way you're thinking. Okay, you've got that loose part of your mind and kind of in the back of your head, right? Where it's confusing and you don't have concrete ideas. That's the best part of your imagination. That's the part that lets you see infinity. And that's the part where your emotions work. And that's where you use thoughts of infinity every day. Because you can get instincts and emotions and feelings about things that you can't process in the concrete part of your mind, because it's just too much information. There's infinite variables, all this stuff. But somehow, this part of your brain, this loose, fluxy part of your brain, comes back and gives you an answer like that. It's just like, yeah, I think this is a good idea. And you're like, ooh, there's a bear over there. And you're like, whoa, how did I come up with that idea? I mean, I just get this crazy feeling and I don't know where it's coming from. It's because you're seeing infinite numbers of things and you're coming up with a solution. You're coming up with an idea based on an infinite number of variables. And all you have to do to see infinity is just flip that around a little bit. Say, all right, I'm going to look this way, out into the sky. And it doesn't end. That's it. That's infinity. There's no end there. It just keeps going. And things like black holes and stuff like that. You can imagine black holes. Anyone can. You just have to not be trained constantly that it's impossible to imagine a microscopic donut with the density of 1 billion stars spinning around and sucking things in and spitting them out. You can imagine that. You can also imagine relativity and all this stuff that concrete schooling tells you. No, if you can't break it down into finite numbers, then it's not usable. No, your imagination can do so much more than books will tell you, and math and all this concrete stuff. There's stuff in your head that no one can tell you about. It's in there in your imagination, and that's where you get your new ideas. So don't get stuck thinking that this world, everything that's in here now is it. That's the end. We've got everything. We've thought of everything. Because look back 1,000 years ago. they didn't have spaceships or video cameras or internet. I even remember when the internet started. It was not that long ago. But they didn't have all this cool technology. They didn't even have a lighter. Couldn't make fire with their thumb. But at the time, there were people there saying, well, we know everything. There's nothing more. There's no more new ideas. There's always people saying this. And at that time, they had what, like 1/1,000,000th of the amount of knowledge we have today? And in 100 years from now, they're going to look back at us and say, oh, that was a cute, quaint little time when they didn't really know anything. It's adorable. It's cute to dress up like they did, but really, I wouldn't want to be so ignorant as those people from 100 years ago. We're always learning stuff. There's always new ideas. And in 100 years ago, there's going to be things you can't even think of right now. Oh wait, you can, in your imagination. I have to go take my hop and flopper for a Zickerang. See you later.